Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my review of Hackers. This is a weird one because I watched Hackers like a week ago, and then I found a thumbnail, and then life just sort of happened. So it's a week. It's a week later. That usually it's like I finish the movie and like boom, just start reviewing it right away. So Hackers came out in 1995, and boy, howdy. I really missed the ball on making this a 1995 25th anniversary channel for this year. I mean, I guess technically I got a couple more months, but what is up with 1995? Now, I remember things being good in the movies. I always talk about, man, in the mid-1990s, I was at the movie theater like every single week, and I was broke, but I was still there, you know? Dollar theater I'm talking about. I was at the dollar theater every week. The actual first run I could probably afford about, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them a year. But the dollar, which was literally like $1 to $1.50 back in the 90s. Oh yeah, I was there. In Corpus Christi, I think they broke a rule because movies would be in the dollar theater like the second or third week after they premiered. I've never seen that and it's usually months, but I think just one cousin talked to another cousin. They're like, who's gonna tell? Who's gonna complain? You know, the internet was barely a thing. Nobody's like, FYI, the Dollar Theater in Corpus Christi, Texas is showing movies a week after they premiered. No, we loved it. Oh my God, we loved it so much. Hell, I remember the first run theater was like literally just like across a parking lot from the Dollar Theater. I can literally see them like running the reels back and forth. They're like, hey, we need this movie back because we're going to show it at 4:15. But anyway, I didn't see Hackers. I remember why. They definitely promoted it. And I guess technically, well, at the time I remember thinking like, I'm like the ideal audience for this, but it looks really babyish, but it's clearly a movie made for 14-year-olds. So I was not 14 when this came out. I was like a decade older. So I didn't see it. I just remember, I don't think it was the technical debut of Angelina Jolie, but I think it was her first major role. And I saw this, and there's a lot of fake 80s and 90s nostalgia. There's a lot of people born in like 97 talking about what do you remember? What do you remember? Being 2.5 when the decade ended? You know, they'll be like, oh my God, this is... So I just noticed like a couple years ago, people were kind of bringing it up when nobody really spoke about this movie for like 20 plus years. And then they brought it up again, and you're like, oh, okay. And I checked it out, and this movie was like, it was so good. I kept stopping it just to look up like one of the characters, like, whatever happened to this actor? He's so good. He has, a lot of personality, charisma. Is like nothing. Nothing. And I didn't even realize that Johnny Lee Miller was actually like a thing for like 7 months. I didn't know that. I think this was the movie that was supposed to turn him into the Thing, and it just didn't happen. So Hackers is about computer hacking made by somebody who's never seen a computer. I don't know how to describe it. It was very, very fun. They do this thing where they do this, visualization of what a server looks like. It feels like something out of Doctor Who in like 1982. Like when they show a server, it's amazing. It's basically glass with just like, hexadecimal and like random names of people and their social security numbers just like scrolling up the side of the glass, and like nothing in the middle. There's nothing in the middle because you can see to the back of the other, facing side. And so Hackers is about this kid named Johnny Lee Miller. I had all of their hacker names memorized a week ago, and Code Blue. I remember one was Acid Burn. That just makes me think of acid reflux, but I know it's a thing you do. Freaking DVDs, Acid Burn. Yeah, I know about that. I forgot all their names. They all had like very cool hacker names, and I forgot all of them except for one that doesn't exist. None of them are named Code Blue. But it's blue. It's like BLEU. But anyway, so he was like a hacker kid who got in trouble with the feds, was not allowed to touch a computer until he was 18. He's, I guess this is a giant plot hole. He's one of those super precocious kids, but somehow he's still in high school when he turns 18. Usually, like the super smart kids, they're graduating when they're like 17 or 16. Okay, so that was a little loophole. Maybe he has. You always have those like kids are like, my birthday's on this day, and I was supposed to be in this grade, then they put me in the lower grade. So anyway, he moves to New York City, and oh my gosh, it's an actual New York City apartment. Like the little teeny tiny hallways and the super small everything, and like the counter of the kitchen is also like the kitchen table. Like I was like, oh, this is like an actual New York City apartment. So he quickly falls afoul of the mean hackers who are actually the cool hackers, and he gets into the hacker group. And then there's a security officer at a corporation who has a fairly solid plan, which he kind of stole from Superman 3. But that's how he's getting the money. But what he's doing is he's basically framing all these hackers, one of whom has a record. And as someone who used to work in cybersecurity, like I said, some of it is basically like Justice League cartoon fantastical stuff. But a lot of like I don't know what I would call it, the themes, like the concepts, the personality types, and the motivations, they're really, really like spot on. I had all of these actors' names memorized. Not Skeet Ulrich, the woman from Goodfellas, Anna Broderick. I'm just making up names at this point. But it was a lot of fun, interesting, visually great, what was the one? Sneakers. I saw Sneakers. It was okay. Hackers was like 20 times better than Sneakers. Sneakers was okay. But really, really fun, interesting, funny. I guess they did like half the movie shot in London, and then exteriors in New York City. One thing I did notice, or I read recently, is I guess the production company that started for Hackers, obviously Hackers was not a huge hit. It was actually a flop. It was like made for 20 million and it made like 7 million. But I guess that production company, they didn't quite exactly just fold. And the people who made that eventually ended up working with Christopher Nolan, and they were like his first team and a lot of. So I thought that was interesting. I was happy. That was like a happy ending because this movie is like good, like really good, and I wanted to know that people besides Angelina Jolie and there's I just forgot everyone's name, didn't I? The other guy who was always like a punk rock guy, he was Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. But in the 90s, he was also kind of on the cusp of being that next star. And then it kind of, Matthew something? Warlick? Man, lost a lot in the last week. But really great, fun, interesting movie. I really loved it. Sidebar. For y'all who grew up in you didn't have to grow up. If you lived in mid-90s New York City, specifically Manhattan, tell me how close the fashions were, because I was in Manhattan like off and on 91 to 93, and then I really wasn't back until like 2017. I do not remember things looking like this. But so one of the things I loved about this is, especially like during the pandemic and the lockdown, it was a lot of like, hey, we're going to the cool neighborhood, the cool club, hey, we're here just to hang out and be seen and meet people. It's like, oh yeah, all that shit's gone. All that shit's just straight up gone. And just weird interactions and just kind of people just like pinballing off each other. It's all gone. Now people just watch Netflix and tattletale on each other on Twitter. It's pretty sad. I was actually thinking a lot about New York City and what's going to happen to it. I was like, I hope it gets a little like funky and dangerous again, because the rents are going to go down, which means more like kind of like broke artsy people can move in or stay or move back in. So I think it could get interesting. We'll see. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I don't really know what I'm watching Haywire with Gina Carano. she was supposed to be the next hot star in 2011 when this came out, and it's like, 10 years later, and she's, finally becoming, I don't know if she'd be a household name, but pretty much most people know who she is. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.